we have such a great conversation set up for today that one, I have a very big fangirl situation going on right now, and I will get into that because the first the humans that we have on this discussion today are amazing. They are inspirational. They are real. They're authentic. So it's going to be a very informative, inspiring conversation that we hope has progress that you can make as listeners in. But at the same time, we want you to kind of set the scene with us. I know we're all virtual calling in from all of these parts of the country. I just saw Kenya pop in. That's awesome. I should say now the world. But let's just in our brains kind of set the scene that we have taken over a local coffee shop, pub, if that time zone fits you more appropriately. But we're all together and we are going to talk about something that relates to this beautiful game. See the play on words? The beautiful game. I'm trying here. And how we can make great progress. There's so much good that comes out of the work that so many people in this country and across the world do for the game of soccer. And I get the special privilege every few months with Coffee in Progress to talk to some people that are doing just work that will inspire you, that will make you think, make you kind of take that internal view of what are you doing and how can you join movements? How can you join progress? How could you create progress in something that hasn't been maybe acknowledged or worked through yet? So lots and lots of good things today. There is, I love Tiff that you just put the shop in there for proof. Proof in the pudding that if you are looking for a Tiff mug, that's a really great place to start. So with that, though, the chat is a good space for any of you to put in questions. The great and wonderful people of WIS, that is Pip and Grace today, will be definitely in that chat, adding resources, adding links, but also helping to monitor questions you may have for Lisa and Tiffany throughout this call. So please use that chat as much as you like and are comfortable with, because this is a recording. It is going to be something that people are going to have the ability to view, to have resources come from in the coming weeks from the one and only resourceful Pip. Pip is the mecca of information. If I want something to listen to, something to read, anything to inspire me, Pip is the woman with the list. And I want to say list. It's list of things to go check out. So Pip will make sure she follows up with all of you, both on the call and those that may be registered but aren't able to join us today to have those resources. So as always, Pip, thank you. And a special thanks to Grace. I have finally had more time to meet Grace, the new manager of the Women in Soccer Network. And Grace has been an amazing human being. I've known her, and she's actually joined us in Coffee in Progress in previous times and episodes. So I'm very honored that one, I am continued or I've been given the opportunity to continue these events. And so Grace has been a tremendous add to the team. And so thank you, Grace, for the opportunity, because it is the first of 2024 in Coffee in Progress. And we are here. Yeah, lots of snaps. With two, like I said, two amazing people, but there's two organizations I want to make sure that we're recognizing in this conversation, and we are going to do that. But it's Street Soccer USA and the Homeless World Cup. All right. And before I get into too much of who Lisa Wrightsman is and Tiffany Fraser, my hope is if you have been signed up for this call, you have seen the promotions, because we don't just have amazing women working. We have movie stars, y'all. We have movie stars in the house today in our virtual coffee shop house. We have movie stars. And this movie, if you have not seen it, I am not kidding you. I posted it on my social media. Every single emotion I could potentially feel, I felt in this. And it was so warm in the heart, walking away and just feeling good about what this game does do in so many ways. So before we get too far, we actually have some clips and some things that we want you to see to set the scene. And, not that you needed proof that we have movie stars, but some proof we got some movie stars here with us today. All right. So Pip, if you can, let's cue that film or those clips, please. And then we'll get back to this wonderful chat.
Had swagger. It really did.
So good.
I know. I got the little goosebumps already.
I know.
So good. All right. So let's make sure we all have a clear understanding of who is actually on this call right now. So first off, all right, I'm going to bring Tiffany. Tiffany, Chief of Staff. Correct title? Do I have that right? Street Soccer USA. Can you give us some highlights? Like, who is Tiffany besides a person with a sweet Tiff mug? What else makes you the most wonderful Chief of Staff of Street Soccer USA ever? Give us a little insight of who you are.
Yeah, well, thank you for the wonderfuls and acknowledging my mug. So yeah, I actually today and given doing the Homeless World Cup here in Sacramento, I have kind of shifted attention to be spending much of my time here on our Sacramento chapter. It's super exciting. And I guess Northern California, a lot of momentum going on. But yeah, I've been hanging around street soccer family for, I don't know, over a decade now, since 2011. So almost 15 years. And been growing this chapter here with Lisa. But I don't know, all of the people from our board, I know we have a couple board members on here today, from our volunteers, our coaches, and obviously our players. That is what makes me wonderful. I'll go with that.
There's so much more to it, but yes, to know that you are a decade, that's amazing. And I can't wait as we continue through this conversation to help inform others about what really Street Soccer USA does and the connections within Homeless World Cup. And obviously we'll get to the film and the fun that came out of that. But obviously there's a real product and a real opportunity and real programming going on day to day that we want to make sure people have that information on. And speaking of, a specific programming, we've got Lisa Wrightsman here, a managing director of the Sacramento branch. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Yep. Yes. So Lisa, give us a little bit of the backstory. Like, how did Sacramento be where you kind of landed and your involvement with Street Soccer USA and the Homeless World Cup? Give us a little of the
snaps. So I, got involved really at like my lowest moment in life, at a really critical point. Prior to that, though, like how I got to that low point was after playing in college at D1 level and trying to stay relevant in semi-pro leagues. I was hoping to make it pro like around 2003, and then the women's pro league folded, and it kind of just was really unfortunate timing. And for me, I hadn't I was just very ill prepared for that transition or moving on in life without soccer, without that identity. And so pretty quickly, without that community, without that support, without the confidence of like that I got from playing, I got into drugs and alcohol super heavily, so much so that, I mean, it just kind of took over my life. So I finished in 2002 playing. By 2009, I was sitting in a jail cell in Sacramento without a single person that was willing to bail me out, because that's just how far off the map I'd gone. And so sobriety was like the next thing if I wanted to stay alive. And I think it's always important to say, like, my idea of sobriety was not good. Like, I didn't want to do it. It didn't seem a fulfilling life. I was certain it was going to be lonely. But I was like, well, I don't want to hurt people anymore, so I'm going to do it. And very quick, like very early on in that recovery journey, like I got connected to street soccer, a street soccer men's team that was living, they were a part of a sober living program. So
Wonderful.
there was a group of guys, they were all recently homeless. They're all sober. That's the only thing that we had in common. They did not have soccer experience. However, they were training for the Street Soccer National Cup that was going to be that summer, where all of the players are eligible through their unhoused credentials, I guess. And, you know, like they're like, hey, we want you to play on our team because you're the only person that knows how to play soccer. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I have given my whole life to soccer. It failed me, like, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. And then eventually I finally went out and played with them. And like, with like, you know, these tore up pug goals, nobody had shoes. Like, it was just real raw. And it was the most fun I'd had in years.
You had goals like drawn chalk on walls.
Well, that was later. That was the more advanced goal.
That was the advanced. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
This was really just like, you know, the thing we had in common was sobriety, and we were looking for things to stay sober. And so, but I went out and played once. It brought back all the feels that I remembered playing as a kid. It was just, and it was important for me because I had forgotten that I was capable of having those still. Mm-hmm. So we were like, oh man, like, I did feel all these things younger, and you know, then it kind of playing back, like, what did I really enjoy about the game? Was it like the level, or was it the things that it did for me? And so anyway, so we go to this National Cup, and it was amazing weekend in Washington, D.C. We competed against other cities. It was good and bad soccer and okay soccer, but it was real, like, it was just this thing where you're like an aha moment of, this is the kind of sober life I want. Like, if I can be a part of something and have moments like this, you know, we were all willing to, like, you know, we're addicts, we want more of it. So we're like, how do I get more of it? Like, do the good work, and like, maybe these are more opportunities that will come. Mm-hmm. And so after that tournament, the weekend, at the end of it, I got nominated to go to the Homeless World Cup, which I did not know of until, you know, this moment, really. And the Homeless World Cup was going to be in Brazil.
So wait, hold on. What was your facial expression when they're like, hi, you've been nominated? And you're like, what? Like, were you like, that fake smile of like, this sounds like something I have no idea about. It sounds, I'm just going to keep my, to me, that's what my
World Cup I thought I was going to be in.
It is not. It is not the World Cup I thought I was going to be in. You know, it is, if you guys have seen the film and you see them taking the passport photos, like the guy Nathan, he's like,
that's great. Well, I was going to ask you, are you like, essentially you're Vinny then? Like, you're you're the one that showed up that was like, all right, you let me, I'll show you how this can be done a little bit cleaner, a little bit smoother. Yes. Yeah.
I was a little more humbled than Vinny.
Fair enough.
Because I was really coming from but I did know how to play, and was very confident on the field. It was, for me though, it was like a second chance. I was like, you're going to take a chance on me. Yeah. And I had always wanted to play overseas, and I never could. Like, so it was just the irony of like, this is the route that's taking me to the big dreams that I had, you know, like, and it, there was a lot. It felt like it was a real second chance. I felt like it was a chance for me to do things differently and better. And in my mind, I was like, well, this is how I'm going to get scouted at this Homeless World Cup tournament, and I'm going to go pro. Like, and then I met my teammates, and they were not good soccer players. they were on the team because of how soccer was changing them, but not how good they were at soccer. And that was also something that was like where I really saw the power of the game in Brazil in this tournament. Was like good players, skilled players, inexperienced, all of their lives are being changed. It didn't matter. Like, but it was not my comeback because we did not win very many games. And I got to see too, the women were like ages 18 to 50. So kind of close to the film, you see a range of the ages and backgrounds, and there's so many things that happened. But basically, when I came back home, I was like, I've just seen a very simple way of absolutely changing somebody's life. Like, and I'm living around all these people who are desperate for something to like do the work for. And that's kind of what led to like us starting it in Sacramento. Was I came back from that trip different, and people could see it. Like, they're like, where did you just go? Like, I want to feel the way you look, is how it seemed to them. And I was, well, I can with soccer, like, you're all homeless technically, so let's start practicing. And that's kind of how it started.
I love it. That's so much. All right. Well, this is a taste of where this is about to go for. To give you guys just a heads up, I will be respectful of time, and I'm going to tell you there are going to be questions you are going to want to ask, and you can ask, and we will try to get to as many of them as we possibly can. But we do hold the hour time because everyone's got to get somewhere next, including these two amazing human beings. But we will try to work to get your questions answered. If you do put those in the chat, we'll work to get back to you as soon as possible. Just a very quick, my name's Candice Fabry. I am living in Kansas City, and I get this amazing opportunity to talk to these two people today. But I am a college soccer coach. I'm a U.S. soccer coaching educator. I also played soccer a long time ago. Similar Lisa, in the fact that my time frame builds into where there was no professional league, and so you were, what do you do next? What about this identity as a Division I soccer player? What does that mean? Mine was different in terms of an injury, and then unfortunately a sexual assault by my head coach turned boss. So there's things that made the game look just not enjoyable and not fun and not anything I wanted to be around, because it didn't do what it had done when I was in my discovery phases of understanding the game and what it brings to me, more than just a ball in my foot, what it brought to my life. And so I've kind of come full circle in different ways to find that the game is something that I can find so much joy and happiness in, and ways to bring others change in their life in positive ways. So I am all about hearing the wonderful work that both of you are doing. Just a quick thing, I do run Fearless and Capable. It's a mentorship and coaching program for athletes and coaches. And so if you want to check it out, fearlessandcapable.com. Little discount code if you're a WIS member for some of the opportunities, but I don't want to spend too much time in that because the other sponsor I want to make sure gets a little bit of a shout out as well is Kickoff Coffee. If you haven't had Kickoff Coffee, you are missing out. Go on the website, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Great coffee. WIS discount as well for 15% off, and we'll make sure that information gets to you as well. So it's usually a regular in my household as well. So to Fearless and Capable, Kickoff Coffee, bringing what today's discussion will be, and you just got a taste of it from both of these women and a little bit of their backstory. So with that, let's get into just really quickly defining what is Street Soccer USA. So I'm going to go with maybe Tiffany on that, and then Lisa, I'd love you to explain what Homeless World Cup is for those that are maybe haven't seen the film or a little less familiar with it. So Tiffany, who and what is Street Soccer USA?
Sure. So Street Soccer USA is a nationwide nonprofit that uses sport to empower communities in its simplest sense, right? And works with the most marginalized populations. So it started out as a chapter and really just an effort by two brothers in Charlotte, North Carolina, working at a soup kitchen, volunteering. And they found that they were soccer players, found that when they took the ball out and passed and moved around with the clients there, they were able to build relationships and start really getting into a safe space and an opportunity to connect and help develop and talk about goals and accountability and all that. That's really where it started in its infancy. And fast forward 15 years, we have a Street Soccer USA curriculum that we use that is 8, skills that are things like show up, play with heart, play the plan, adjust the play, things that are applicable on the field and off the field. And we use that curriculum not only to work with adults transitioning out of homelessness or domestic violence or recovery programs, but we also work with youth that are underserved. So what we learned from working with adults was they said, had I had access to a coach, to this sort of a space that was safe and accountable and fun and play-based, like perhaps I would not have arrived here, right? And in America, there are a lot of people that cannot afford to participate in soccer, and even today, there's a lot of kids that don't have access to play, to support, and all that stuff. So we work with underserved youth, a lot of Title I schools, a lot of communities like that, a lot of refugees. Again, a lot of your marginalized folks that you might think of. That's who we partner with. And we have chapters in about a dozen cities around the US. And the chapters look like programming with those populations as well as parks. So if you look up Street Soccer USA, you'll see that we have these mini pitches in a couple of cities. In particular, here in SAC, we have a beautiful, really amazing space that it serves as a community asset and a park and a space where people know they're going to be safe. They can come, play, connect, do all that good stuff. Yeah. So that is what Street Soccer USA does. We do events, we do programming, and try and serve and give access.
The word safe being used as many times as you did in that very well articulated understanding of the program, who they are, the beginnings, just makes me so happy that like we are finally in a time where when we look at sports, we have to equate safety with it, and that's in so many ways. It's right in a holistic way as well, and I think that's so huge. And so I think for those that obviously are potentially interested in where are these chapters at, and maybe the mini pitches, where and how does that work in terms of cities, we'll get into that a little bit as we go through the conversation, but certainly check out the chat, because Pip and them have continued to do a great job to put those links in there. So if you're kind of curious of, okay, what are we actually talking about, keep an eye on the chat. There's a bunch of links that are going to come through. And so Lisa, you had kind of started to speak about this moment where you're nominated to play in the Homeless World Cup. And if you go watch the beautiful game, because if you haven't, you're totally missing out at this point in time, just FOMO, as I'm going to throw that out a couple times probably through this discussion. So Lisa, what is the Homeless World Cup? What are we looking at? Like, is it like the every 4-year format? Is it all the countries? Give us a little background to what it is and maybe how we could be involved with it, volunteer. Any of that would be helpful.
Yeah, the Homeless World Cup, it happens every year, 7-day tournament, and it partners, they have like 70 partners around the world, but usually about 50 countries per year will make it to the 7-day tournament. The games are the street soccer size fields. So it's like the smaller fields, 4v4, very fast, 14-minute games. And to qualify to be eligible to play, you've had to experience homelessness within, I think, the last, usually it's 1 year, but it might be 2 years because of COVID. So they, have to make up for some years they didn't have it. Right. But essentially it's like, that can be an asylum seeker, refugees, that can be, recently out of prison, jail, or rehab, or in a sobriety program. So there's a lot of couch surfing. There's a lot of reasons that somebody would have like that insecurity, and safe like home or place to stay. And then the idea is that the Homeless World Cup just runs that weekly tournament. And then they, all the partners around the world, they're running the day-to-day programming.
Okay.
So it's the partner's job to prep the players and do the growth and do the work so that an individual can go from, you know, a really critical moment to somebody who could handle the stress and the excitement that comes with like playing, competing, traveling, staying abroad, getting passports, getting visas. And so the Homeless World Cup, they create that space and that it's really a massive accomplishment for someone to get there, but it becomes a big incentive for people. So that helps all the programs around the world. They're like, you know, if you enjoy this and you're finding it motivating you and you want to do more, like here's the peak of it. It's kind of like the Olympics in a way for personal development. And what happens at that tournament, it's like, I think it's like 400 games a week in that week. The players are all housed, they're all fed by the Homeless World Cup. And then they basically show up and, you know, they're like representing their country. The interesting thing about the games in the bracket is that it's designed, everybody plays the same amount. So there's really no elimination. But as you might have a variety of levels, right? So they have an interesting process of like group play. So like after the third day, you kind of end up in a bracket or a division of, you know, equivalent teams. So everyone's always playing for something. And that does really good things for it's fun to coach that way because you can have a lot of losses and then you finally get a win and it's like, oh my God, like we won.
I'm not going to give away who finally kind of gets a goal and it's like, choking moment when that happens. So there's some of those trials that are shown through the movie of different varieties of ability, and I think that's a great thing. Like you said, it provides a lot for them to play for. I was very curious about the bracketing, so continue that. So like-minded teams, and then is there a championship? Is that for real? All of that?
It just ends up different trophies. So like the top 8 will be playing for like the Homeless World Cup trophy. And then the next 8 will be playing for a different named, you know, award or trophy. So it just keeps it, you know, everybody stays invested the whole time. And that helps a lot with like the coaching of the emotions because it's a roller coaster for the players. You might have a day where you win both games. The next day you're crushed and you're like, so there's a lot of like, you know, going through, they're not a lot of playing. It's like 30 minutes a day they're actually playing. So the rest of the day and the experience is like
around every game still feels the same way.
It's super immersive.
You might play for a few minutes, but the emotions are real. The emotions that make the game what it is, you know, like the anticipation, the stepping on the field, getting asked to be put on the field, getting off, enough, and that your team, like all of those things still happen, and they're so impactful, even in a short amount of time.
Oh, for sure. And even in the film, I mean, the great thing about this, the style of play, it's 14 minutes, but like when you're running your hardest for 14 minutes, you're done. And you will see people like they're just, the level of effort and exertion is really inspiring. And I think what is important about that is that's where people start to recognize them as athletes, you know, and like they're sweating and they're trying and they're like running back on defense and they're fighting for a goal. And that's what you want people to remember about the person. So that's what changes the stigma. And a lot of the people that come and attend is they're like, wow, like someone living on the street, you wouldn't see those qualities in the same way. So you put them on a soccer field and it's like, oh, wow, like that's actually what that person is made of. I want them on my team, whatever. Like I want someone that works that hard and tries that hard and never gives up. So that's kind of what it does for the attitudes and perspectives that we want to, and perceptions we want to like change. But the Homeless World Cup's entire role is to like have this event once a year, partner with a country that can host it, be available for all these countries to use it as like an incentive. And then there's so much learning that happens in that week. It's just irreversible change. And then, you know, and that's kind of the collaboration.
So 2 questions and then we'll keep this going. So I thought I heard in the film do players get 1 year to participate Is that it? And that was
Best case, you're ineligible after, right?
Okay.
Because you're progressing in your life.
Gotcha.
And like you see with
Yeah.
some of the stories. Yeah.
So there's always a continuous search for the next year's teams in these programs, opening the opportunities up for other individuals. And I think that's fantastic for one, just everyone's comprehension of the lived experiences this game has that can be so unique in terms of how they get to the field, right? Then how they experience the field and how they walk away from the field, and it being more than the ball rolling, but what this round thing can do to so many people's lives, I think is really amazing. And then this year's Homeless World Cup is not in the US. It is where?
Seoul, Korea.
Seoul, that's right. I thought. Yep. So that's fantastic. And what are the dates of those events again?
I think it's September 21st through 7 days past 28th.
28th? Yeah.
We
got fingers. We can start counting.
Yeah, I'll confirm it for you, but I think that's I think you're right. The 21st through the 28th.
Yep. Fantastic. And so, from Tiffany, your perspective, what does Street Soccer USA and Homeless World Cup bring to the culture of the game in this country, in the US? What do these organizations bring to that? I'll do a two-part, kind of the soccer culture, and then just our human everyday, the interactions, the communities we find ourselves in, or the communities that maybe we need to learn more about. What do you think?
Yeah, from the soccer culture standpoint, I mean, I'll speak assuming the position of like someone who's been involved in American soccer, for years. I think what the movie and what Street Soccer does is really provide some insight into what actually happens with sport, what actually happens with the beautiful game, what the things that, when Lisa learned about Street Soccer USA's curriculum, it was like eye-opening to her, because the way she was playing and involved in soccer was in this very linear competitive mode, and perhaps didn't have coaches that were focused on unpacking or presenting what was actually happening. She was developing communication and confidence and, the ability to show up and be accountable. And I just say Lisa because it's just an easy example, but this is something we've probably all experienced. Like, you don't realize how much you're actually gaining from the game.
Yeah.
That is so valuable. And I think that, what this movie, what Street Soccer USA does is really highlight all of those things that you are receiving from the sport, receiving from the game that you maybe don't realize. And then, creating for people that are not in the soccer space, I think what's been really cool is to see, we've had a ton of friends. We did a premiere here in SAC, and we had a ton of friends that, don't play soccer. They don't give a shit about soccer at all, and or sports.
It's hard to believe they exist, but they are people.
On athletes website, they're out there, and we've gotten to meet a few of them. But no, they their feedback.
Aliens.
No, they really understood it all in a different way, and I think the film, Thea Schrock did an amazing job of bringing the human element, humanizing what's happening in the exchange and the opportunity for exchange between folks. And that's really what happens. It's just cased in activity and sport and fun, but that is where such of the sticky and valuable spaces happen. And then, with Street Soccer USA, what is really cool, what we've seen with our park in particular too, is there is a way for anyone to be involved. Like, I've had multiple knee injuries, and it's a super rough thing on your brain to go through, but understanding there's still ways to be valuable even if you can't play. And I think that's what we've seen too with folks that have watched the film, that maybe they don't like soccer, they're not involved in soccer, but they've there's a way that you can plug it, whether it's volunteering. We literally had recruited volunteers for the Homeless World Cup here in Sacramento. Their sole job was to cheer on whatever team is on the left. Like, I don't care who it is, you cheer for the team on the left. Wow, you're volunteer. And it was, those to me were some of the most valuable volunteers.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And that's, I'm glad you touched on, if you're not maybe in the active space of the game being played, your impact and your ability to, one, see people with lived experiences that are valuable to us understanding what sport does, what a sense of belonging can bring, what representation can give to someone's hope, to someone's motivation for the next step that they want to take or may need the nudge towards to take, I think is so crucial. And that's why for all the soccer movies I've watched in my lifetime, this just showcased another environment that doesn't get enough focus or enough spotlight on, but it spoke to so much of the true essence of what this game can bring. And that's why I think it's such a special film. And to know it's not made up in our brains, that this actually happens, is so great.
Forget, like, play it out for a week, and with this in the backdrop, the thought that how many people are expecting you to show up somewhere in a week for whatever meetings you have, for whatever things you have. Like, multiple people are. For some of the adults that we work with, like, we might be the only thing that only space where someone's accepting or expecting you to show up to. And we've had players communicate that, like, that's what kept them from using that week, that they were expected to show up, and the space for accountability and safety and
a real opportunity that, like, was separate of, like, you don't have to be, I'm not asking you to show up with anything you don't have. I'm just asking you to show up and be willing, and, like, that is enough merit to earn you an opportunity. That experience might change whether you improve or you don't, but, like, the entry is not beyond what somebody, like, has, which is unique, and that's, like, seeing that over and over again with people is really how we've been able to see people, like, the difference between a lot of people who can change their lives and others who don't is, it's like opportunity and willingness. You can't, either of them without each other doesn't work, but it really allows people who are willing to, like, lean into that and, find a way that they can change themselves and also get into a community that's, like, much larger than themselves, and, advocacy, even if it's just your own story. But we don't, like, recognize that as much as we should, and how empowering it can, like, if one person, if they couldn't have a job and they couldn't be employed yet and their background doesn't clear, but they feel like they can help another person with their story, like, that's just enough for them to believe they have value. And that it's simple, but it's super important, I think, for everybody to be able to have.
Both of you have said very brilliant things, and I know Pip and Grace are in the background. They've got to be able to be like, there are so many little snippets of this conversation that, and Lisa, you just said that how you started it with you just have to show up. There's no expectation of anything else besides who you are and your willingness. And I think that can be so true in so many more spaces that, I do a lot of things. I try to be a holistic coach. I try to bring out the good in the game. And I remember mental health days when I gave that with nothing besides you will get, are you okay? Are you safe? And can I help you in any way? Are going to be the questions you get from me. And coaches first went to, well, they need to get over it. And I was like, but what if I can just get them to be comfortable to say, today I'm going to show up and I'm going to give you what I have. And and my willingness to show up might sometimes be at a 30%, but I feel safe to show up at 30%. I'm like, please give me more spaces like that. And Tiffany, you kind of said, what if more people were given these opportunities in their younger stages of development, what does their adult life belief and confidence and worthiness come from in themselves? What does that lead to in terms of how they view their opportunities at the end of the day? And I kind of shifting gears from something that is so, I mean, guys have so well spoken about what these two organizations do, your personal stories, but I'm going to kind of flip to what's it like being on a movie set? All right, you're sorry, you totally. I told you I'm flipping gears. You're on a movie set with not just like people we don't know. Like these are no. I'm like sitting there going, oh my god, it's the dude from Harry Potter and
yeah, Bill Nye.
Yeah, like I'm like this is not. And then the host, the Italian woman, I'm like, I have seen every episode of Apple TV and her.
Yep.
I was just like, this is legit. Okay, so give me a little bit of the behind the scenes. What is a movie set like? What were you two doing? Obviously, I was like, oh, I know them, and I could pause right there in it. And so give us some of the snippets.
I'll tell you some things, and then Lisa can color the picture that I draw. But no, you got to know too. It was in the middle of peak COVID excitement.
It was the second wave,
right?
So this was the second wave. It hit like while we were going there or something.
We shot this in 2021. They flew us out to Italy, where the movie is. That's where we were. That was our commute to work, was walking to that castle every day. Or we got driven over there, dropped off. One thing that I don't know that everyone knows this, but all of the non-speaking athletes in the movie, so the Japan team and the English team, and then 2 actors on the US team, they were all actors, like proper actors. Everyone else that was in a jersey is a former Homeless World Cup player, coach, or manager. So that is how it was very, very important to Mel Young, the founder of the Homeless World Cup, the directors, that this be as authentic as it could be. And so they flew us out there. They paid us as extras. They had us housed in this dorm environment. But again, it was in 2021. So we are in the middle of COVID. And the really cool part is that Lisa and I have, coached at the last 10 Homeless World Cups. So we've seen we've met many of these people that have come through over the years. Yeah. So it was like this family reunion of sorts.
Like the family reunion you want to go.
Yeah, the one so good. And we're all in these dorms. We have to stay. I mean, every 2 days we got COVID tested. Between every scene, it's masks on, masks off. And, these are all people, all different languages.
It's so hot.
It was the recorded hottest summer in Italy in like maybe 100 years. It was ridiculous. We were out there for 5 weeks, but the days were so interesting because we'd get picked up from the dorms at 6 a.m., go to set, which was this beautiful castle that we'd walk by at sunrise, and go to hair and makeup, which at first they had the idea to cover up all our tattoos, which I don't know if, some of you know, Lisa and I have a ton of tattoos, but a lot of the players have tattoos.
Sleeves, arms, legs, sleeves.
So they tried to do makeup to cover our tattoos, because with the backgrounds of some of folks, their tattoos are, representing something that they maybe don't currently represent, or just terribly offensive or unknown or whatever.
Right.
So they tried that the first day, and it took hours. And the first scene we shot, which is in the movie for 20 seconds, we spent hours preparing and shooting that. And then there's like 20 seconds in the film. So we went every day, hair and makeup. They abandoned the cover tattoo thing and just got rid of it. And then you sit on set and you wait till they say Team USA, come on come to the pitch and then do whatever we're doing. Slam some Red Bulls, go to the bathroom, get on set. But yeah, we were in the interim. We played a ton of pranks on each other. And just,
That's what I was going to say. So, like, there's got to be some downtime that you've had.
Oh no, there's so much downtime. Like it was such long days for the extras that were brought on behalf of the Homeless World Cup. So we'd get taken to set at like 6 or 7 in the morning and stay the entire time, whether we were needed or not. Yeah. They brought all the teams because of COVID, because of the liability, and because we also were having like interactions with the main cast. So if any one of us got COVID, they would have had to shut down the main, like everybody would have had to. So they took a lot of risks to include a lot of different people. Like it would have been so much easier to have just been like, let's just use random extras all the time. And like, but the liability, the risk, the logistics and the coordination was unbelievable. Like it was so much. But the days were super long. We did, so we had a lot of sleeping because we would be like on set all day, and maybe you're needed, maybe you're not. But you would go to costumes the first second you got on so you go to the costumes, you get the uniform, they make sure your hair is exactly the same way as it was yesterday. All the makeup's got to be the same. And then they tell you to go go in like the hangout area, and you might just be sitting there in that uniform for 8 hours.
Did you get to keep the uniform?
Huh?
Did you get to keep the uniform? Okay, good.
But it was like all of us were in these different countries' uniforms, just walking around.
Our goalie and the U.S. goalie, the first day we went to shoot, she wore her hair in like these two top knots. You can see it in this picture that was there. So every day for 5 weeks, I had to go to her room at 5:30 in the morning and part her hair straight because she didn't trust or want the hair and makeup people to do it. And I was like, I'm gonna kill you, but she had to do it the same way.
It's so many little things that you would never think about. Like if you've ever had to spend a day on a film set, or you would understand. But it's like every shot you do, we did like 15 or 20 times. Most of the plays were choreographed. So the first week we got there was like a boot camp.
Yes, that was a question I had for you, was how much of the soccer is choreographed, which it has to be for the camera view. But I was like, how is it to play choreographed soccer?
Yeah,
that is counterintuitive to everything.
But it was fun because it was really fun to watch. The guy Mike Delaney and his team, they're amazing, and he does commercials with like Ronaldo and Messi and Adidas.
Fair enough. Yeah, decent.
So they brought them out, but they also didn't know street soccer, so that was a thing that we could always felt like we could help with and say, and like that would be a play that wouldn't. But we rehearsed the first week. We rehearsed all the games of the plays, and then when we shot them, each play was probably shot like 15 to 20 times.
Okay.
So every run, the goals. So I would say each game was probably like a 2 to 3 day shoot.
Yeah.
For the amount that you see. Yeah. Most of it was choreographed, but then they'd let us say like, okay, why don't you guys just like free play for like 5 minutes. And then I noticed they took some clips. Like I got a goal.
Yes.
That was only in free play. That was free play.
Understanding was the fact that goal that we scored, that was the first time that they allowed for free play to happen, because we needed flow, right? Like the actors were not soccer players. Michael Ward has some soccer experience, but
they trained them all as much as they could.
They did like a training, but Lisa and I both agreed that we were like, if you get the ball in free play, shoot it as soon as and that was a real live goal, and Thea hooked Lisa up by putting that
that is
lost their mind.
Oh great. It was literally in my question lineup, so I am watching it going, okay, I get to watch this as just a fan and excited, and then going, okay, I got to think questions, and then I was like, she scores. Is it scripted? Is it not scripted? I love it.
Such a homie hookup.
Okay, so if you guys, if you haven't watched The Beautiful Game on Netflix, 1, you're missing out, FOMO, big time. 2, the goal is epic by Lisa, so make sure you're going back through that and rewinding and coming back forward, because it is a quality opportunity.
Quality strike.
It is. It was.
I will say
beautiful.
though, like I got to give most of the actors, all their goals, like they did that too.
Yeah.
Like Christina on our team,
Christina did.
Yeah.
Like,
Good caller.
but yeah, we had to do them over and over again in like 100-degree weather. It was so hot. But when I saw that, I was like, yeah, Thea, because I also get burned pretty bad.
That
was choreographed.
And shout out.
Okay.
So let me say, Lisa, actually, they had to have her. That shot took so long because Lisa kept saving. She's a forward, but she would not have let that happen.
They wanted it to look
Literally
real
had to
though.
put her over 1 foot so that she could mess that.
Those were the two moments I wanted to ask about, but I wanted to shine you a little bit and go, you have a great goal in there. Maybe just skip over that Lisa gets burned.
Roses and thorns, yeah.
It was a little bit. No, but that is so wonderful. And I love the fact that, one, the film is so true to the realities of the environment for these individuals that are not just, as you said, not just the movie actors. You actually had, real participants of coaches and players and managers, all fantastic. And I've been kind of keeping an eye on the chat. We seem like we've got even people interested in volunteering, and that would be the thing that I want to make sure in this. It's coffee, but it's progress, and that's the thing that we hope you come out with is go check out these websites, go look at the opportunities to learn, view, speak, and engage. That would be the thing that we hope, is that there's an engagement level, even if it's going and watching the Netflix film. Come on, not that hard. Go watch the movie and give that space and time to understand that this is such a beautiful part of the game, is what it brings, and this movie will give you all the feels. Literally, I am not a super emotional person, and I was a baby. I was a baby weeping in the corner going, this is beautiful, and I'm happy, and I'm sad, and I'm crying, and I'm laughing, and it's just a lot. So for everyone, I want to be respectful of the time. Lisa, Tiffany, amazing. Thank you for kicking off Coffee in Progress in 2024 with this. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the backstories. Go watch Lisa's goal. Skip over when she gets burned really bad. But it's good. It's good quality. And bring it in for the children. I know I've got 2 kids. It's important film for those that love the game, those that kind of like it, and for our alien friends that don't have a clue why this game is beautiful, get them to watch it. There's so much good that comes out of it. So everybody, thank you so much for joining WIS Network. Pip and Grace, as always, appreciate the time and efforts and energy and making this happen. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Stay safe and keep the game beautiful, please, in so many ways. All right. Thank you, everybody.